All right. Hello, everyone. My name is William, and this is my presentation about my ideas for modifications we could make to improve the efficacy of child welfare treatment plans. And the goals of the modifications I'm going to be talking about here soon are to help parents who want custody of their children retain that custody, as well as obviously keep their children safe and provide them with stability in the long term. So, what exactly are treatment plans? A treatment plan is a set of actions and goals developed by a caseworker for parents and/or guardians to complete to ensure the long-term stability and safety of the children through modifying behaviors that pose a safety risk to their children. Most often, we will see this in cases of neglect. You can see them in other kinds of abuse, but neglect is the most common form of abuse, and that's the one I'm going to be focusing on in this presentation. While parents are completing these plans, their children may stay inside the home or be placed in outside care. Regardless, it is pertinent that the parents complete the plan successfully in order to retain their children. And that's a stipulation for closing their child welfare case. So this is what treatment plans look like right now in Colorado. They fall under these resources, we call them the core services, and they can be divided into two categories. This includes mental health, which includes such things as medication, sometimes therapy, and this is all about helping parents manage their mental disorders and helping them function. Like, let's say a parent is depressed intensely and they can't get out of bed for days on end. They're going to be having trouble, feeding their children, providing a safe environment. We'd help them get some medication, talk to a psychiatrist, just get them back on their feet. And the other main category is substance abuse, which includes resources such as counseling, maybe halfway houses, and that's to identify triggers of addiction within the parents and to help them maintain sobriety. Technically, there's a third category, which is financial assistance, but we spend so little on it that I felt it was not important to talk about. The money is honestly really negligible. So let's see how effective these programs are looking in the grand scheme of things. So I just put up this graph to show you just how common cases of neglect are within child welfare. You see those big blue bars. Out of the 5,000 confirmed cases of child abuse within the six-month period, 3,900 were neglect. So it is a very important issue. On this graph, we can see the rates of children who enter the Child Protection Services system and how many of them are able to find a permanent residence by the time their case is closed. And we can see by this yellow line, we don't really hit our goals, and we'll see that on the next few slides. So there's a fair amount of children who don't really have anywhere to go even after entering the system, which is very depressing. And we can see right here, absence of case reinvolvement, which means a case was closed and then reopened again. We can see that our goal is 90%, and we average 89% overall successfully, including in-home, which is what I'm focusing on. We want the children to stay with the parents. So not terrible, but not where we want to be either. There's a lot of children being removed from their birth families. And then right here, we see the rates of foster home reentry. So this is children who were placed into foster homes and then either they were given back to a relative or they tried to reunite with their parents. And as we can see, the numbers are awful. Our goal is about 8.6 or 8.7%, and we average nearly 20% of children re-entering foster homes. So they leave, they try to go back, it's not safe, and then they have to re-enter the foster home. So with these kinds of issues in mind, I spoke to my father, Stephen Martins, who is he is currently a family meeting coordinator with Arapahoe County, and I would definitely consider him a child welfare expert. He has 20 years of experience as both a caseworker and administrator. And some of the key things I learned from our discussion was parents don't have an easy time, which sounds ridiculous to say, but court systems often place parents at a disadvantage. There is a tendency for tunnel vision to focus solely on the needs of the child, and there's not a ton of leniency for parents in these situations. It can be quite difficult for them to retain custody even when they're trying to go through all the proper steps. He also mentioned to me that there, as we could see in the earlier slides, there is a quite a bit of inflexibility within our current treatment plans. If your issue is not related to a significant mental disorder or an addiction to drugs or any other substance, there is not a lot out there for you. And he also mentioned something to me that I also agree with, is that the importance of being raised in one's family is undervalued by the child welfare system and honestly by society at large. It provides a lot of benefits in one's like developing one's self-identity, growing up within one's cultural background, having those experiences growing up around your family. It is important, and not a lot of people see that. And another thing that he mentioned to me was like, let's say a hospital or a school files a notice with CPS. They don't care at all. They don't, they're only concerned with the welfare of the child, which they should be. But where that child ends up it doesn't matter at all. That's not even considered. It doesn't matter if they're foster care or anything like that. There's not a lot of thought towards preserving families, I would say. So my core recommendations that I feel like would be a good way to provide more all-encompassing resources beyond just mental health and substance abuse would be to add parenting classes to these treatment plans. Just normal things about raising children, child psychology, parenting techniques, which these, this is something my dad was telling me earlier too, these were once a lot more common, but they began to get phased out on the principles that social workers believed that parents completing these courses was just them like ticking off a box. There wasn't any empirical evidence involved. It was really a moralistic decision. But one of the benefits to these classes would be that they are much cheaper than I would assume any other resource, because obviously you're helping many families at once, and you're giving them a broad wealth of knowledge and resources in order to help them preserve their family. Other ideas beyond parenting classes, there's an organization called the California Evidence-Based Clearinghouse for Child Welfare, which is a really nice website because they've done many scientific studies about other potential resources to be integrated into child protection services, such as reminiscing and emotion training, which is in-house therapy for families with small children, which really banks on the comfort and the security of being in the home, and sort of using that as a basis to modify a parent's behavior towards their children. And we also have combined parent cognitive behavioral therapy, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's your standard old CBT therapy, except you have both the parent and the child present in the session at the same time. However, my issue with both, most of the programs, they're very expensive, very individualistic, and in the next slide, we will find out that is just not possible. So, some of the other issues that we would have to take into consideration as we try to integrate parenting classes into our treatment plans. The state budget is a utter dumpster fire, truly. Last April, the Colorado legislature had to slash $1.7 billion in order to balance the state budget, and pretty much all of that came from public transportation and social services. So, not good for us. And in addition to that, it gets even more ridiculous. Coloradans voted for Proposition 130, which increases law enforcement funding by $350 million. And the state does, obviously, I mean, if we're cutting $1.7 billion, they're not going to have that for, to fund the police. And they're talking about dipping into the reserve. And, money is a huge issue right now. My senator, I live in Aurora, Jeff Bridges, said next year is going to be very bad. So you think that the budget situation right now is bad, it's only going to get worse. So if anything, we would have to, move some funds around from what's already being allocated to the core services. Obviously, we'd have to use, the SMART goal categories to assess their efficacy. But right now, there's not really any other choice. We'd have to defund some other social programs in order to make this work. But I think it would truly be worth it in order to preserve these families and to help children and parents alike, be happy and preserve their families. Okay, thank you.